Welcome on into another episode of the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. Today we're taking a look at the Sydney Swans 2026 season preview. A lot to get through today. We're working our way through every single club. We're nearly all the way through. We've got 3 to go, including this one. So we've got West Coast and the Bulldogs after this coming up in the next 2 days. So go check out the rest. They're all up on the YouTube channel already. We're going to do Sydney today. We go through their recent form, recent history of the club over the last few years. We take a look at all the ins and outs in the off-season, the depth chart, the best 23, and we'll finish off with a fixture analysis. So that's everything we got planned in this episode. Make sure you've hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Like this video if you enjoy it. Jump in the comments below. Let me know what you think of Sydney's chances in 2026. Are they set for a big rise on the ladder like a lot of people expect them to be? Let me know. I want to hear it. Let's jump into the actual content. While I jump into the next page, don't forget to go check out All Aussie Rules all over social media. Twitter, X is the same thing. Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, all of those. Go check it out. All Aussie Rules everywhere. Let's jump into Sydney Swans though. 2025, they finished in 10th position on the AFL ladder. So obviously missed finals. 12 wins, 11 losses. It was a bit of an interesting season. They had some ups, they had some downs. It was a slow start to their year. They had obviously probably the low point when they hosted Adelaide mid-season and lost by like 90 odd points. The second half of the year was a lot better. Once Errol Goulden came back, I think he's a key factor for this Sydney Swans outfit. Obviously, their midfield's really strong. Their backline's pretty good. They've added some strength to their forward line as well, so there's a lot of high hopes for them. Last year, 80.2 points per game, which was the 11th most in the competition, so somewhere around about mid-table. And same on the defensive end, averaging 82.7 points against per game, which was 11th in the AFL. Look across their last 5 seasons. So last year, 10th place, 12 wins, 11 losses. 2024, they got the minor premiership and then ended up making it to the grand final before losing in that one to the Cats by 60 points. Not the Cats, the Lions by 60 points. I know my years, don't worry about that. So finished up runners-up. 2023, they finished 8th on the ladder, so just snuck into finals. 12 wins, 11 losses, and a draw. Did lose that elimination final. 2022, they finished 3rd on the ladder before making it all the way to the grand final. 18 wins, 7 losses, losing that time against Geelong in the grand final. Got smacked by the Cats. So runners-up in 22 and 24. And 2021, they finished 6th on the ladder, 15 and 8, losing in an elimination final. So across the last 5 years, they've had a very up and down sort of period. Lost in an elimination final, lost grand final, lost elimination final, lost grand final, just missed finals, a few games out of finals, but 10th position. Does that mean they're back to the grand final this year? I guess we'll see, but I certainly wouldn't be writing them off, is basically where we're at with the Sydney Swans at the moment. Next up, all the list changes, and there's quite a lot happening at the Sydney Swans in this off-season. The ins, the outs, here they are. First of all, we'll start with the ins. 3 traded players in. The big one, obviously, Charlie Curnow, adds a huge amount to this forward line. We'll get back to that in the depth chart, a bit more analysis on that, but a really good in, I think, on paper, that Charlie Curnow trade. Also coming in, Malcolm Roseas adds a spark to that forward line as well. And Jai Sarong potentially will maybe get game time. He obviously was in a weird sort of position at Hawthorn where he wasn't good enough to be getting games ahead of their back line, but maybe greener pastures might see him find his place. 4 picks in the national draft. Harry Kyle was pick 14. Jevon Philippou, pick 35. Billy Cootie, pick 42. Max King, not to be confused with St Kilda's Max King, was pick 49. So we now have 2 Max Kings in the competition. And Noah Chamberlain and Liam Heatherton were both rookie draft players. The outs, so 3 traded out players. Jack Buller goes to Collingwood, key forward, played a few games last year, kicked a few goals, showed some okay signs. It's never ideal to lose a key forward, a young key forward. They probably wouldn't have needed him much this year, but maybe in the future it would have been a prospect for them. Also going out, Ollie Florent and Will Hayward. So two definite best 23 players there in Florent and Will Hayward leaving the club. Opposite ends of the ground, Hayward, your half-forward flanker. Ollie Florent been mainly half-back flanker, but a little bit of wing time. So there's little bits of holes there that they need to fill. I think the Malcolm Roseas kind of will go into Will Hayward, maybe. Certainly will go forward line. That halfback flanker that replaces Florent might be a little bit more difficult, but we'll get into the depth chart shortly. Delisted, Robbie Fox, Aaron Francis, Indy Kirk, Blake Laidler, Caleb Mitchell, and Ben Patton, all delisted from the Swans. So that's the ins and outs. Quite a bit of movement there. Some senior players moving in and out, as well as some young players coming in. So, yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's a positive move overall, because I think Charlie Curnow is a massive piece to this Sydney Swans puzzle that has kind of struggled for key position players, certainly last year. Up forward, that was a big issue for them. Nothing against the forwards that they did have, but they're probably better as second or third options instead of being the number one. Charlie Curnow will free them up quite a lot. Depth chart for the Sydney Swans. If you're new around here, I will quickly explain all of this information on the screen for you. We do a rating system here at All Aussie Rules. We rate every single player, every single game. That gives us the season average rating, and then we put that by position. Top 10% of each position is elite. They are your purple players. Blue is next. They're your top class, which is 10 to 25%. Next up is the above average, which is green, and that's 25 to 40%. Then it's yellow, which is average, which is 40 to 60%. Below 60% is orange, listed as below average. And then red did not play last season, but was on an AFL list. And pink is your final colour. That anyone that wasn't on an AFL list last year, basically, is the long and the short of it. And when we look at the numbers, halfback flanks, running backman, they're pretty well situated in that area. Nick Blakey, one of the highest rated general defenders in the competition. Occasionally has to play key defence, but mainly general defender. High ball user, run and gun player. He breaks games open. He was ranked number 2 in the competition at that in the AFL last year. So Nick Blakey, really, really good and shown some pretty positive signs already in the pre-season. So keep an eye on Nick Blakey. Next up, Callum Mills. Probably close to his best season. Certainly his best season as a halfback flank since he's no longer got room for him in the midfield. Solid season, 16th overall. If you can have 2 players in the top 18 in your general defence line, that's a really good start. So I think that's why they were okay with losing Florent. I know he would kind of played a slightly different role, but I think they've got that ball use out of the back line really well locked in with those 2. And now the rest of your back line potentially more focused on the defence side of things. But those 2 are a really good start. Riley Bice, 46th ranked player last year. We saw some really good signs early season from him. Maybe plateaued a little bit throughout the season, but showed some really positive signs. Matt Roberts, Dane Rampy, both more your lockdown sort of area. Both will likely get plenty of opportunities throughout the season to try and cement that 4th medium-sized defender. Sam Wicks, Harry Cunningham, lowly rated last season. And then obviously the draft pick 14, Harry Kyle as well. Key defence-wise, they struggled in this area, I think, and that's probably a big reason why they did go with Jai Sarong in the traded for Jai Sarong was to try and strengthen up this key defence. They've got to try and get some players performing a little bit better back there. Obviously, the general size defenders, they're really, really good. It's just this key defence that maybe lacks a little bit of top-end talent. Tom McCartan was rated 27 last year. Lewis Milliken, 54. Joel Hamling, 63. And that's all that's still on the list. So Jai Sarong joins them. I think he's certainly capable of getting plenty of game time. He'll probably fit into this back line. Then Snell, Andrew, and Edwards all did not play as well. So overall, I think the general defence of the Sydney Swans stacks up pretty well against most teams. It's just that key defence that maybe lacks a little bit of that top-end talent on paper. Jumping into the forward line, and we'll start with the general forwards. And I think, once again, pretty decent stocks here. Justin McInerney, ranked 7 last season. He obviously plays a bit of midfield time as well, which helps that rating go up a bit. Tom Papley, one of the best small forward goal-kicking players in the competition. Didn't have the best 2025, if we're being completely honest. His final game of the season was absolutely outstanding and showed us all what he is still capable of. So he's certainly capable of being top 18 in the competition as a general forward. Probably even top 10 if we're being honest. Malcolm Roseas has shown some really good signs early days in his Gold Coast career. The first practice game has already been, and he showed some really good signs again in that one. So I think they've found someone that will fit straight into this team. I wouldn't be expecting massive numbers from him every single week, but if he can average 1.5 goals a game, that's a pretty good output and will really fit nicely with the rest of this forward line structure that they've already put together at Sydney. Caden Cleary is next. He's number 49 ranked player last year. Then Tom Hanley, Braden Campbell, pretty lowly ranked. And then Corey Warner and Jesse Datoli. Not massive numbers from either of them. Ned Bowman didn't play last year. I think your top 4 there are probably your 4 that are mainly going to play. Certainly the top 3 would be your first 3 picked as general forwards at least. Key forwards, this is where they've added Charlie Curnow. This is huge for them. It puts them in a spot now where I guess they're no longer relying on what they had last year, which was Joel Amati being that key target a lot of the time. It allows Joel Amati to probably play third key forward, which is huge. Because Charlie Curnow probably number 1 target, let's be honest. Logan McDonald coming back from injury last year, likely to be number 2 key target, which allows Joel Amati to be third, or Hayden McLean if they go with that option. I think it just really gives them a good variety up forward and will really free up those second and third options. But also Charlie Curnow, we know, can handle being the number 1 key forward in a team. Yes, his numbers have been down a little bit over the last 2 seasons. He's a 2-time Coleman medalist for a reason, though. He can kick goals and he can take that pressure of being the number 1 forward. So on paper, this forward line looks like it will really, really work. If that's the case, which it should be, especially with the midfield that they got delivering to them, if they can stay fit and firing, there's no reason why this Sydney Swans team can't be one of the best in the AFL in season 2026. Logan McDonald didn't play, and then Liam Heatherton, who was a rookie drafted player, and Max King, who was picked 49, is injured for the start of the season, though, I believe. Jumping into the midfield, depth chart, we've got, first of all, the inside mids. They're stacked here. Isaac Heaney went from number 2 inside midfielder in 2024 back a little bit to number 16 in 2025. He's certainly capable of being in top 5 again this season. He's an absolute gun that can get forward and kick lots of goals. He can rack up possessions. He can do whatever they need him to do. He can fly high. He can kick goals. He can scrum. He can do whatever they need. So he's an absolute gun and one of the better midfielders in the competition. Supported really well by Chad Warner, who obviously can get forward, kick goals. He was another player that did drop off in ratings last year. but him and Heaney both set such high standards in 2024 that it was always going to be hard to keep those numbers. But I could see them both rising back up this year, especially if they can keep a fully fit Errol Goulden along with them as well. James Rowbottom is your defensive style midfielder. One of the best in the competition at that. His rating also did drop last year, but he tackles hard. He can tag. He can do whatever they need him to do. The nitty gritty sort of stuff that allows Heaney, Warner, and Errol Goulden to be the more offensive weapons. So he's a very important part of this packaged midfield that Sydney Swans have built over the last few years. Angus Sheldrick, James Jordan, Taylor Adams, probably all your role players now, depending on who's fit and who's firing, who's playing good football, will determine who your fourth and maybe fifth options are in that midfield role. And then Bill Cootie and Jevon Philippou are your two draft picks that haven't played yet, but are both probably inside mids, but we won't see them as inside mids in the AFL this year. If they do get an opportunity, it'll probably be more on the outside sort of game. Outside midfielders, Errol Goulden is kind of a hybrid outside mid, inside mid. He can go into the stoppages and absolutely dominate in that area as well. But he's also such a weapon on the outside that you'd be silly not to utilise him as that as well. He can run all day. He uses the ball so well. He's an absolute class talent, and I think a major reason why they struggled last year was because he wasn't there. A thing that a lot of people forget about Sydney's 2025 campaign, they lost their first two games by like a combined 20 odd points. I think it may be even their first three games by like 20, 30 points combined, and had a chance to win all three of them in the last quarter, but just blew good opportunities. And those three losses may have been the difference in the end between finals and not finals. They still weren't as good as they were in 2024, there's no doubt there. But a lot of things went wrong for them. So a little bit of luck in the injury department. Keeping their key players on the park will be huge for them. But they also should be able to return some of these star players back to their best. Obviously, Errol Goulden was the highest rated outside mid last season. Did only play half the year, though. Jake Lloyd on the other wing, ranked 14, rotates through a few positions, but he's very handy as your second winger, I think. Gives that good option as well. Noah Chamberlain, rookie draft. Doubt we'll see much of him this year. Ruckman, Brodie Grundy. Best year since probably his Collingwood days. Probably his All-Australian days. He was the fifth highest rated ruckman in our system last year. His first 5 or 6 weeks weren't fantastic, but from that point on, he was absolutely sensational through the rest of the year. Really, really good in the ruck, around the ground. Obviously, there are ruck rule changes this year, so how that affects him and the rest of the rucking community in the AFL is yet to be seen. But I think if he can put together another season similar to last year's numbers, that will be huge for this Sydney Swans team because it will allow the rest of their midfield just to absolutely smash it. So keep an eye on that. Peter Ladhams is your backup ruckman there. They'll probably not want to use him too much if they can avoid it. And William Green, we haven't seen an AFL level just yet. Best 22 has kind of changed since I did this 3 weeks ago. So 4 weeks ago, maybe even longer now. But I should have probably changed it before, but at the same time, it is what it is. Full forward line, I've got Tom Papley, Joel Amartey. The third one there would now change to Logan McDonald. I think that's clear that he will be their second or third key forward option up there. So, yeah, I'd probably replace McLean with McDonald. Half forward line, McInerney, Curnow, Roseus. I think that's a really strong forward line, so we'll keep an eye on that. But this team has kind of developed now. Their best 23 is really strong. I don't know about their depth, whether they can cover certain positions, but their best 23 is really, really strong in my eyes. Centre line, Errol Goulden on the wing with Jake Lloyd on the other. In the middle, Brodie Grundy, ruck, and then Heaney, Chad Warner, and James Rowbottom. Really, really strong midfield. no doubt about it. Full back line, or half back line, Callum Mills and Blakey as your two run and gun players. Jai Sarong coming in as a new player for the Swans. And then full back line, Riley Bice, Tom McCartan, Lewis Melican. And then on your interchange, I've got Matt Roberts, Braden Campbell, Angus Sheldrick, James Jordan, and Tom Hanley. The next six would be Hayden McLean, who I've removed from the best 23 in place of Logan McDonald. Then it's Taylor Adams, who's struggling to get games over the last couple of years. Dane Rampy, Sam Wicks, Peter Ladhams, and Corey Warner to round out the best 29, I guess. So that's the Sydney Swans best 23. Let me know what you think. Who would you put in? Who would you take out? Let me know your thoughts on that. Jumping into the final thing to look at, and that's a fixture analysis for the Sydney Swans in season 2026. First of all, 11 home games, 11 away games, 1 neutral game. Pretty self-explanatory how that works. The 11 home games, as every team has, basically 11 away games and the 1 neutral game, which is obviously gather round in round 5. Where do they play their games? They play 12 in New South Wales, the 11 home games at the SCG, as well as 1 away game to GWS at NG Stadium. They play 6 in Victoria, 2 in South Australia, 2 in WA, and 1 trip up north to Queensland in the season. Their 2 buys, they obviously play opening round, so their first buy is round 3, their second buy in round 15. The teams they play multiple times this year, the real big one is Brisbane, back-to-back premiers. They played them in the grand final a couple of years ago. They tend to play Brisbane twice a year most seasons, and this is just another one of those. They have a decent record against them as well, in all honesty. I think they did beat Brisbane up at the Gabba late last season, so I don't think that's the worst option for them. Other teams they play twice, Bulldogs, GWS, St Kilda, all of those are hypothetically teams that should be in or around the top 8. Obviously, St Kilda did miss finals last year. The other 2 were right in that top 9 contention. And then Port Adelaide and North Melbourne are the last 2. So 4 teams didn't play finals last year, but of those, I think 2 of them are well and truly likely to play finals this year. So there is a chance that 4 of those 6 teams do play finals. Puts their draw difficulty right around midfield at 8th in the competition. Slightly harder than the average, 1503, which the average would be 1500. If you're interested in how those numbers came about, I did do a podcast episode on it when the fixture was released late last year. But it basically takes into account where you play the opposition, not just who you're playing, and gives an average opposition rating. Average opposition rating would be 1500 if you averaged the whole competition. And what did I say? Sydney were 1503, so just slightly above. Gold Coast have the hardest according to this data at 1517, and conversely, Port Adelaide have the easiest with 1474. So yeah, that's pretty much Sydney Swans. All the information you need to know. I think if they can stay fit and healthy, they can get the best players on the park. This is a team that could rise straight back up to a grand final appearance. They absolutely have the talent. Their midfield is as good as any midfield in the competition. When you take all the parts, their attacking options, their defensive options in Rowbottom, their ruckman in Brodie Grundy. Chuck in the fact that their forward line has got stronger with Charlie Curnow. I know they lose Will Hayward. He wasn't fantastic for them last year anyway. But they add in Malcolm Roseas as well, so that kind of helps in the smaller, medium-sized forward role. And their back line, yeah, it kind of lacks a little bit. Maybe the key defence needs a little bit of strengthening up. But if the rest of the team can cover that, then maybe they'll be fine. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Sydney. Let me know your thoughts. Where will they finish up in 2026? Jump in the comments below. Let me know. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button before you leave. We keep this content pumping out all the way through pre-season. We've got 2 more of these to go, West Coast and Western Bulldogs, over the next couple of days. There's also a podcast that goes live twice every single week. That'll be Mondays and Thursdays from next week. So check that out. It goes out on here on YouTube as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I'm John. This has been another episode on the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. We'll be back with a podcast on Friday, and that is a full AFL season preview, so check that one out. I appreciate you for being here, and I'll catch you on the next one.